Okay, now we have another function. Let's call it second function, and this function, it is y equals 1/3 the cosine of half x minus 3 pi. Okay, good. Once we have this function, let's now start to understand what is going on. This is going to be the amplitude, and this amplitude we can already see that it is going to be divided by 3. We know that the cosine, it goes from -1 to +1. This is going to be from -1/3 to +1/3. The amplitude is going to be 1/3. Now, this is going to be the period, and the period is going to be multiplied by 2 because it's a division, remember? Okay, for this one, 1/3, reduce in here, reduce the amplitude. But as for periods and phase, it is the opposite. If we divide by 2, the period, it is multiplied by 2. And again, if this is the phase, all these, right? Okay. Our phase, it is, because it's negative, our phase is going to move our curve to the right at a +3 pi phase. Okay, now just one, we don't have to think about 3 pi in here. Okay, let's make it something more clear. We know that for sine and cosine, what happens? For sine and cosine, every time we just shift the phase 2 pi, nothing changes. Okay, because every time we just shift the curve by the same amount of its periods, nothing changes. Okay, for instance, if I just had -2 pi or 0, it would be the same. Okay, so every 2 pi, be it positive or negative, it is the same. So I don't have to consider -3 pi in here. I can just consider just minus pi. So that means that we are going to delocate our charge just plus pi. Okay, I'm not saying that this is wrong, okay, because it's not, but we don't have to think like this. Why? It is the same as thinking like this. Okay, let's just take an ordinary paper. It is the same as this. Take 4/6. This is the same as 2/3, isn't it? Okay, and so no, it's not. Yes, it's not the same. 4/6 is 4/6. 2/3, it is 2/3. Yeah, I know the numbers are different, but they represent the same thing. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Is it wrong to say that we are going to shift 3 pi? No, it's not. Okay, because it goes like this. What is the cosine? Okay, the cosine is something like this. Okay, and if we just move, if let's suppose this is -2 pi, we are going to shift this curve to the right. Okay, to the right, 2 pi, right? Okay, but it means that this peak in here, if you just move 2 pi, it is going to land in this peak in here. It is going to be the same charting. Okay, we are not moving. It is going to be one chart over the other. Okay, it's just like this. Okay, this is one chart, this is the other. Okay, this is whenever the phase it is different from 2 pi, we are just doing this in here. Okay, whenever it is 2 pi, 4 pi, 6 pi, it is just like this, one over the other. So we don't have to consider anything than 2 pi, 4 pi, 6 pi. It's going to be the same. And that is why in here I'm just telling you that instead we're just going to consider that the shift it is going to be pi. Okay? I'm just canceling the 2 pi in here because every 2 pi it is the same. Okay, good. Once this is solved, and I always like to draw the cosine in here. The cosine function, and it just helps us tremendously about thinking what is going on. So this is going to be y equals cosine of x. Again, this is 1, this is minus 1, and now something very important, okay, that we need. We have to know this point in here because I'm always interested about the roots of the function roots. The function roots are always when this curve meets the 0 in here, whenever we have y equals 0, and those points for me are very, very, very important. Okay, this one is going to be pi over 2, and this one is going to be 3 pi over 2. Why? Because this is going to be 2 pi. Why? Because it's the period, right? It starts here and here. The cosine period, it is 2 pi, okay? The length for one full cycle, okay? Starts, ends. And this length in here, it is going to be very important for me, okay? Making blue, blue, I already use it, this gray in here. So this distance in here is very important because right now it just measures pi, right? Okay, right now this length it is pi, but in our charting this length it is going to be the double, is going to be 2 pi. Okay, one part of the problem is solved. We know that this length is going to be 2 pi, but I mean, where are we going to put those 2 pi? Because we are shifting the phase. The chart is moving like this. Okay, we have to know what are those 2 numbers, okay, are going to be in our next chart. Again, let's just below periods, let's draw those points in here, those roots. Okay, like I said, the roots are very important for me. I always draw everything based on the roots because they are fixed, right? They are the actual points in here. It's very easy to start like this. Well, those are for the cosine, but we have something different now. Because we are multiplying, we are stretching our entire chart by 2, we have to multiply by 2 everything. Okay, you see, now this becomes pi, right? Because we just cancel, and this becomes 3 pi. So in our chart, let's just make a sketch in here. In our true chart, when we just finish these points in here, in our chart, it is going to be pi, this one, and this point in here, it is going to be 3 pi. Look, okay, and of course remember that this distance used to be pi. Look now, it's 2 pi. Everything on this chart, everything is going to be multiplied by 2. This distance, those points, everything. Okay, so once you do this, you just multiply by stretch, okay, the way you want to, and now the chart is basically done. Okay, I'm just going to draw now here, but the exercise is solved. We just have to assemble the pieces. Let's go. I'm going to leave a space in here because we're going to work with, is the charting going upwards or downwards? Remember? Okay? But now we have the points that I am interested in. You see? Now, the first point, it is going to be this one. Pi, right? The second, 2 pi, 3 pi, right? Every 2 pi, right? Okay, I'm just following this. Okay, here. Let me put in here. Two pi. Okay. Now the next one is going to be 5 pi, 7 pi, so on. Now, if this is pi, the next one is going to be minus pi, okay? Why? Because this distance must always be 2 pi. Now, minus 3 pi, and so on. Okay? So, the most important thing here, okay, so you don't get losses. Let's take those points, put in here and here. The black is, ignore the red for now, okay? I'm just copying those 2 points in here. Because the period it is multiplied by 2, everything on the x-axis you are going to multiply by 2. Now, this is result of this mass, it is in here. Pi, 3 pi, pi, 3 pi. And of course, the period now, okay, it is going to be multiplied by 2, okay? Of course, this is not the entire period, it's just half period. But this portion in here, now, it measures 2 pi. Good. Now, this is a root, this is a root. So, our charger is going to pass in this way or in this way, I don't know. But it is going to pass in one of those 2 ways, okay? Maybe it's coming this way, maybe it's going this way. We don't know yet, okay? And that's what we want to figure out right now. Okay? So everything is done, okay? This is going to be our chart, okay? Very easy. But now is, and now, okay, and what is going to happen, okay, when we are at x equals 0? Cover that. This is cosine of minus pi. And let's see what is going on here. And now let's just draw this last part of the problem. This is a cosine, this is a sine, this is last part. Well, we have seen that if we just go minus pi minus 2 pi, we just end in the same place. That's why I said, okay, it doesn't, if this were to be minus 2 pi, it would be just like 0, okay? So I'm just going to consider minus pi here. If you want to consider minus 3 pi, go ahead. Minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. You are going to land at the same place. That's where we are going to start. This is going to be where our x equals 0. This is going to be our starting angle. Remember? Okay? This is going to be our starting angle. We start at negative cosine, okay? Because everything in here, it is positive, and everything in here, it is negative for the cosine. Okay, so again, we start at the negative side, so we're going to start in here. Okay, low, and this is going to be, let's just mark these points. This is going to be our minus 1/3. Okay, that's it. Okay, our chart, it is ready. We just have to draw it. Let me just, it's going to be like this. Okay, every time this happens, it must pass through the 0, okay? So it's going to be like this. and so on. Again. And of course, what is going to be those points in here? They should be, I'm not a great person to draw things, but the amplitude, this is going to be 1/3, right? Okay. This, of course, this should be in here. So for you to draw, I advise first to make that line, so we just don't go over it. And just to make it fancier, if you just wanted to put this is going to be 2 pi, this is going to be 4 pi, and so on. Okay? That's it. So just recapping what we did. The first thing we did was to acknowledge 1/3 of the amplitude, twice the period, and phase it is going to be, you don't have to think about minus 3 pi, just think about minus pi, okay? Every 2 pi it is the same. So this means that we are just subtracting pi in here. Subtract pi in here means to add pi on our chart, okay? And that is the first part of the problem. The second part of the problem is this. Draw the cosine in here, and I always like to take the roots. So take this root, pi over 2, put in here. Take this root, 3 pi over 2, and put it over here. What is going on with the entire axis, okay? This axis in here. This axis is being multiplied by 2, all of it, okay? All of it, it is being multiplied by 2. Therefore, this is not going to be pi over 2, it is going to be twice as that. That's why I just put pi. This is not going to be 3 pi over 2 anymore. It used to be, but now anymore, it is a double, okay? Now it's going to be 3 pi, okay? If you just want to check things up, this distance used to be pi, not anymore. Now it measures 2 pi, double. Everything is double because of this, okay? Well, once you have this point and this point in here, okay, we are going to start placing them in here. No problems about this, okay? And now the last part of the problem. Okay, so this is where our curve is going to cross the axis. And the last phase for this problem is, are we going upwards or downwards? Oh, one thing, we know that this part should be a peak or a trough. Why? Because if this is going to be the root, this is in the middle, of course, this is going to be plus 1/3 or minus 1/3, okay? But the issue is, are we going to start like this or like this, okay? Meaning, when x, okay, this is x and this is y. When x starts to grow, is it going to grow from the negative side or from the positive side? And that's how we have to check in here. Make it x equals 0. We're going to start in here, right? Why? Minus 3 pi or minus pi. Minus pi, minus 2, minus 3 pi. Okay, I'm just counting the numbers. That's where we are starting. What is the cosine of minus 3 pi? Minus 1. Minus 1. This is minus 1. Multiply by 1/3, minus 1/3. We are starting here. Or in another way, we are starting from the negative side. Okay? And when we just pass through these points, it starts to get positive. These points, now these points, and so on. Okay? That's it. All the exercise you can do like this.